So why Shade Tree Pastor? Well, there's two reasons. The first is shorter, so let me get that out of the way. Maybe you've heard that term before, maybe you haven't, but it's often applied to things like mechanics. The idea of a shade tree mechanic is the guy who maybe isn't really an official mechanic, or he is, but he doesn't have a shop that he works out of, and so he'll just fix your car for you for like 40 bucks in his front lawn out underneath that big shade tree. Since I recently left a ministry that I was at for almost 13 years, I now find myself as a pastor without a church. So kind of a shade tree pastor. But there's a second reason I chose that name, and that reason is a bit of an homage to someone else that uses the name Shade Tree. See, there's a YouTuber I'd like to tell you all about. His channel is called Shade Tree Surgeon. And his real name is actually Josh. I've met him. He's a very nice guy. His channel is about motorcycles, which is why I initially started following it. I also ride, and so I follow some YouTube channels about motorcycles. And I started following his, and it was the type of content you would expect from a motorcycle YouTube channel. It was him riding around, showing us different places. It was him looking at different bikes. It was him fixing bikes and working on bikes and all of that kind of thing. But then something happened. Josh met another guy whose name was Dave. Dave runs a nonprofit out of Tampa called Forgotten Angels. I don't know if you know this or not, but a lot of kids in the foster care program, as soon as they turn 18 years old, they immediately become homeless. And so Dave created this nonprofit to help house and feed and care for these kids that have aged out of the foster care program. He bought a camp with like cabins and things like that, and he brings the kids in. They live there. He helps them get job training. He helps them finish their school if they need it. He helps them get back on their feet and to get off of the streets. Well, Josh met Dave and liked what he was doing and wanted to support it. So he decided to raffle off one of his old motorcycles to raise some money. He did. It was a huge success. Raised at least a couple grand. I'm going by memory. I haven't seen the books, but he raised at least a couple grand. And so he decided to do it again and again. And each time it was more of a success. Then he thought maybe people would like to see what Dave is doing out there at Forgotten Angels. So he hosted a big camp out. And so people came and enjoyed that, got to meet the kids, got to meet Dave. They raffled off another motorcycle. And then they kept doing it. And every time they did it, it grew bigger and bigger. Now the camp out has hundreds of people coming from all around the country to support that awesome nonprofit. At one point, the Harley dealership in town was donating bikes to be raffled off. At one point, the Ford dealership donated a brand new Ford Ranger to raffle off to support that nonprofit. And Josh has managed to do all of that with a simple YouTube channel about motorcycles. And when I saw that, I was struck by that idea. If he could do all of that with a YouTube channel about motorcycles, what should we, as the people of God, as the church, be able to do? Shouldn't we be able to do at least that? One of my hopes is that here in this ministry, we will. And so as an homage, I named it also Shade Tree Pastor. I hope you are willing to stick around and continue to learn a little bit more. My next video, I'm going to talk about exactly what I see this ministry being. Please join me.